So I stumbled across an ebook called Chicks Dig Jerks by a guy calling himself Fort Worth Playboy. Now, the entire title of this ebook is, quote, Chicks Dig Jerks, Your Complete Guide to Asshole Game by CH, that is Chateau Artiste, a big name in the pickup artist community. Let's read this description. Chicks dig jerks is the most direct line to a girl's heart and whole. It is asshole game. There is no sugarcoating it. Being an asshole works on women, all women, most of the time. Any man who has lived a day in his life and isn't self-deluded by equalist ideology or chick flick romanticism knows this is true. Even those pickup artist love gurus who unctuously sermonize that what women really want are strong, confident men, minus the asshole part. Save your holier-than-thou moralizing and desperate attempts to discredit asshole game by falsely claiming it only appeals to low self-esteem girls. We're going to discuss, give examples, back up with scientific studies what works, not what should work. Get started on establishing or perfecting your asshole game today. Special pricing. The book will be sent directly to your inbox. Buy now. Now this is 117 pages and $30 to tell you how to be a jerk, because this guy takes it as axiomatic that chicks dig jerks. Now, immediately, in our mind, we would think of a jerk or an asshole, as they call it. Their words, not mine. My apologies for sensitive ears. We would picture somebody just being mean to be mean, being angry, abusive, insulting, etc. And we would say, chicks don't like that. Well, Mr. Hartiste has an answer for that. It's maxim number 3, he writes. Whenever an attractive girl tells you she hates assholes, or describes her experience in the past dating assholes and claims to avoid them now, or recites a laundry list of assholey things guys do that she disapproves of, you can bet your weight in gold bricks that she needs you to be an asshole to her. Now, Mr. Hartiste did a whole lot of research, I guess you could call it, which, the manosphere operates on anecdotes. I knew this woman who was mean to me, and then she started dating some other guy. Oh man, I'm going to ask what happened. I'm going to analyze it, and that tells me about the nature of women. And then a bunch of guys find a bunch of bar sluts, and they see people being mean to them, and those bar sluts going with those guys home to go have sex. And that tells us that this is the true nature of women. If you're mean to loose women, that means that you get to sleep with them. Now, it really is a science for these people, even though I would not necessarily call it science. Nonetheless, he gets into detail. In one blog, he says, Tier 1, edgy, nice guy. He's for your plain Janes with a heart of gold, girl next door, sweet church girl, Amish bish, that one girl in your STEM class, virgins, small town librarian, the formerly chubby thin girl who still has body image issues, etc. Tier 2 of buttholes, charming jerk boy. It's for your fat part of the bell curve, aspiring teases, coquettes. These are your 5s, 6s, and 7s who think they're one step into good lighting from being 9s. Throw in some 8s who have dated too many provider beta males and now need a butthole to make them feel alive again. Also, super hot foreign girls are in this group, unless they're Brit, in which case they belong to the Tier 3s. So about 80% of women react positively to Tier 2 assholes, the charming jerk boy, you see. Finally, Tier 3, brutal mind effer, says he is for your standard issue social media created thought. All your closeted tyrants, bartenders, sasspots, careerist shrikes, infanticide supporters, proto-cat ladies, hipsterette scenesters, strippers, cam whores, jaded hotties, fear of missing out chicks, rainbow-haired and nose-pierced nonconformists, and salon readers belong in this group. Now, he says, I'll give examples of each asshole tier so men can better understand what being an asshole means when applied in real life. So, tier 1, the edgy nice guy, cups his fart and opens it in front of his girl's face and then mock begs her for mercy through gales of laughter. Tier 2, the charming jerk boy, he cups farts open under her nose, doesn't smile. The tier 3, the brutal mind effer, you see, he cups a fart, shoves it in her face, and tells her, you smelt it, you dealt it. And he continues with things like tier 1, doodles a penis on her birthday card. Tier 2, gives her Skittles for her birthday. Tier 3, forget her birthday, demand a blowjob. Tier 1, sixth night lay, condom. Tier 2, third night lay, pill. Tier 3, asshole, same day lay, leave her with abortion bill and a funny walk. I think you get the picture. Now, thousands of men read Heartiste, and they took his words to heart, pun intended. Now, you can't get a job. Your continued employment at your company rests on the mercy and the whims of HR ladies who can get you fired for literally any offense whatsoever. And in addition to that, guess what? Even if they don't work with you, even if it's a different company, a single accusation means that they can ruin your life. Now, maybe this is real correlation, causation, argument moments, but people did the whole Me Too thing and ruined a lot of innocent young guys' lives who weren't assholes after certain people were assholes. Harvey Weinstein was an asshole. He probably would have been considered one of Heartiste's tier 3 assholes, huh? Harvey Weinstein got horrifically Me Too'd by the women that were sleeping with him, whether willingly or less than willingly, with some of these power dynamic type pressure tactics that Harvey Weinstein would do. And now you have enshrined in every workplace and in every place of education and all sorts of other places rules against men such that you can't get a job or you can't keep one. Or you can't keep your place in your school because maybe somebody is going to make a threat. So I have a question for you, dear male listeners. If chicks dig jerks, if that's really just a personality thing on them, is accommodating that by being a jerk doing your brothers, fellow men, any favors? Because if chicks really dig jerks, it seems that it's a little nonsensical for them to have set up an entire social monstrosity, a labyrinthine set of bureaucratic rules that keep you from knowing what you can and can't do, can and can't say. It seems that they must be insane if they like jerks and then immediately did everything with their collective social capital to make sure that men were punished on behalf of those jerks. Somebody might say I need to be more conspiratorial. There were shady actors behind the Me Too movement, behind Title IX, behind the HR regime, and that itself being an extension of the managerial regime that we find ourselves suffering under today. But I would wonder why it is that something that was conspiratorially designed ended up with so much popular support. Lest we forget all the protests, lest we forget all of the women tweeting things, drinking male tears and things like that all over the place, and always pointing their fingers not at a normal guy, but at somebody that would be socially constructed to be the egregore of an asshole. Even if there is some shadowy external conspiracy to wage a societal crusade against assholes, against jerks, it sure seems like a whole lot of people supported that. And now young men are told, by and large, don't talk to women because all of them might ruin your life should you so much as make one wrong move. And let's think about the Me Too movement. It's not dead. I don't care what people say. Yes, it is true that Amber Heard lost her court case against Johnny Depp and is greatly impoverished on account of that. However, not all Me Too moments were based on lies. A whole lot of the women who decided to come out of the woodwork brought receipts for the abusive, jerk like behavior of their ex boyfriends, ex husbands, employers, etc., and so forth. And no, they did not always sleep with these men. So, a question for those who are fans of Mr. Chateau Heartiste: is it worth it to put yourself at that sort of risk? In a society that waged war on assholes, and bullies, by the way, so not just jerks in general in regards to the relationships between the sexes, but now every last school has anti-bully measures, every last military detachment has anti-hazing efforts, all of this stuff. Guys being too mean, there's a giant societal crusade against it with women's raucous approval. And is it wise to tell men, actually, you should be that bad guy to get your 5 minutes of pleasure from some loose, damaged woman? I wonder, is there anybody out there who ended up getting the Me Too treatment and getting his life ruined after following Mr. Chateau Heartiste's advice? I would ask whether that was a responsible thing for him to advise. I would ask whether that was smart. And I would wonder whether or not he would take any responsibility, like a man, for giving men and encouraging them to use tools like so-called asshole game. Now, here's what I'm getting at. A while back, I recorded on what I called the new rise of the fertility cult. The people that would tell you you are in sin if you're using a condom. People that insist that you have infinity babies because they reduce men and women to breeding machines when it comes to sexuality, and they have maybe some tortured understanding of onanism in order to get there. Something I pointed out was that none of the people who tell you you're going to hell for using a condom or enjoying oral sex with your wife, absolutely none of them will lift a finger to help you if you find yourself in economic dire straits by virtue of having tons and tons of children. Not a single one of them will do anything to help you. They won't buy you groceries. They won't donate to your GoFundMe account where you say, "Help, I had 9 children because autistic people online told me I was going to hell unless I had 9 children," and never pulled out. They will never take responsibility because ultimately the choice rested with you on whether or not to listen to them. And every time somebody tells you chicks dig jerks, you should get into asshole game, as Heartiste calls it, you can rest assured that the dynamic will be the same. None of them will help you with your legal fees if she decides to sue you for harassment, or if she decides that everything you were doing was toxic and abusive. Not a single one of them will even shed a single tear if a family member of hers decides to beat the hell out of you for mistreating their sister, their daughter, their mother. Not one of these people, not one of these influencers will take anything like responsibility for you following what they told you to do. They taught you that women are pigs with very specific, predetermined natures that you can manipulate to get the results that you want. They're deterministically going to do what you manipulate them into doing, so long as you're enough of a jerk. They told you that. And if you followed through on that and reaped the whirlwind of consequences that get rained down on men that do that, none of them will care. All of them might, maybe, if you tell them that this happened to you, maybe, just maybe, they will say something like, women are the worst. Because they want you to not take accountability for your own cruelty or your own actions against these women. And they don't want to take accountability for their advice telling you to be cruel to women. Well, instead, they'll have you blame women because, after all, if they weren't so bad, they wouldn't respond to you being an asshole in an unfavorable way. But here is the part where the pickup artist community responds to me with, hey, the red pill isn't about us telling you to do anything. We're just giving people tools based on our observations of human nature. Sure you are, pal. But they would then punt to the question, don't chicks love jerks? We have all this anecdotal evidence and some studies of dubious or less than dubious quality that point to women digging jerks. So we're just informing men that if they want an easy lay, if that's their thing, then they can be a jerk and have a reasonable expectation of success when they try to bed a woman. You know what? In part, that's a fair thing to bring up. That's a fair objection. Even though I deny that the manosphere is quote unquote just giving guys tools based on observation, it is fair to ask, do chicks love jerks? Is that something that they like? And should you, Christian man listening to this, be more of a jerk? Should you polish up your so called asshole game to nab yourself a Christian wife? So let's answer the first question. Do women, categorically, all of them, like jerks? Are they biologically hardwired to like men who engage in aloof, cruel, insulting behavior? Does that turn them on, all of them, even if their rational mind says no? Well, I will not say that none of them like jerks. I will not say that all of them like jerks. And here's where people should have paid attention and given credit to the manosphere for discovering that there are bad women. There are women who have a sense of cruelty to them, and they like that. They like cruelty, but they don't want to engage in it themselves because they want to keep their hands clean and to not give up anything on their own end. No reputation loss. They don't want to lose clout. They don't want to get canceled. They don't want to lose their friends, but they still want cruelty to happen and they want to watch it, so they find a man that will do it for them. Yes, there are women that in their heart of hearts, morally speaking, have that problem. There are also women who find themselves attracted to abusive men because something about it just attracts them. Some wires got crossed somewhere along the line, and their bodies mistake a man's cruelty for strength and confidence. And perhaps they just like that. That's true. There are women like that. Much in the same way, there are men that want their mommy fetish to be fulfilled. Yeah, you come in all shapes and sizes and preference among people, and everybody's weird. However, does that mean all of them? No. I would say by and large, the vast majority of women are attracted to strong men, confident men, men who are not quote unquote nice guys. We'll get to that. But that does not mean that all of them want to be mentally and verbally abused by a man. They do not all automatically feel attraction toward that. But I do think that a lot of the pickup artists, what they were picking up on, pun intended, was that a woman doesn't necessarily like the nice guy. What do we mean by the nice guy? We don't mean a guy who's just chill, respectful, courteous with people. We're not talking about that. We're talking about our previous episode's topic, the simp, the man who pedestalizes women, the man who thinks that if he gives enough flowers and chocolates to a woman, that she will have to spread her legs for him. Women generally don't like that. Or if they do like it, it's because they can manipulate that man more easily if she is a bad woman. You see, it's very simple. The man who acts like the stereotypical nice guy and tries to do favors and get presents for a woman thinking that that will win her heart, he is treating a woman like she is a prostitute. He's not treating her like a person, he's treating her like a thing that if he pops enough coins in that machine, eventually it'll open up to him and he can get the prize. That individual is typically something that disgusts a woman. And if she is in a situation where her options are the nice guy who wants to buy her sexual access, or the jerk who treats her like a person with agency, but he's not very nice, she's probably gonna pick the latter. Because at least the jerk treats her as somebody that has a real set of emotions, a real mind to interact with, as opposed to just a body, just a pretty face. It seems to me that a whole lot of pickup artists picked up on, pun intended, these dynamics in comparison with what patently did not work. Being the nice guy who's always offering a shoulder to cry on, chocolates to eat, and flowers for her to smell, who's always telling her how beautiful she is, how beautiful, 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 and how great it is just to smell her. And by golly, he didn't know what the taste of her poop is, but he would try it just for her so he could compliment her further. They look at that and say that doesn't work. And then they see guys that don't do that taking a woman home and they say, aha, chicks dig jerks. And then they hear a billion anecdotes that may or may not be completely fictitious on forums that further solidifies and vindicates their worldview. But the fact of the matter is, we know for a fact that women do not categorically like jerks on account of the gigantic societal crusade that they waged against them. Now, Mr. Hartiste might reply, but VLP guy, Harvey Weinstein still got sexual access to plenty of these women that he was treating like absolute garbage. And they could have said no to the casting couch thing, so don't call this rape, call it what it is. Chicks dig jerks, Mr. VLP guy. There you go. But I would reply that there is a big difference between willingness, acceptance, and desire. All these things. And one can still have a primal attraction to something that they actually wouldn't like very much. Every now and then in these forums, you hear about the studies that show X percentage of women have sexual assault fantasies. Well, it's one thing to have a fantasy in your mind, it's quite another to experience that. I know I've brought this up before, but there's a big difference between a woman thinking about the hot billionaire ravishing her and a homeless man putting a throat up to her knife and having his way with her. Big fat difference there. The same way there are men with polygamy fantasies who want 4 or 5 fawning women having orgies with him all the time, but he's not thinking about growing old with them and having 4 angry, menopausal, undersexed women all competing with each other for his very finite amount of affections that he can give. None of them are thinking about that when they fantasize about polygamy. None of them are thinking about, say, if they have a threesome fantasy, they're not imagining themselves ruining their relationship with their wife because of the now permanent jealousy issues that she will have the one time that he was able to talk her into doing a threesome with some woman they find on the street. So clearly, there's a difference between what people's bodies want and what they want in their mind. Another thing, young men who don't want to watch pornography, who hate that they find themselves addicted to pornography, but they still watch pornography. Why? Because your body wants it, your flesh wants it, your mind does not. That's Romans 7, basic stuff. Your body serves the law of sin and death. Your mind serves the law of God. Women can be the same way, even if maybe even a majority of them like jerks or are sexually attracted to cruel, aloof, uncaring men. That's why, even though a lot of these women slept with Mr. Weinstein, nonetheless, here they are trying to get him squished, legally speaking. And Mr. Hartiste can claim up and down that Mr. Weinstein is not an alpha. He's not pulling asshole game. He's doing X, Y, or Z thing to manipulate women, but shut up. Ultimately, your blog and so many other blogs from the pickup artist community said, listen, the guy who's having the most sex just flat wins. There was even a term for it back in the day, herb. A herb is a guy who should not, by any normal objective metric, be an alpha male who gets all these women, yet somehow he does because he's got that magic sauce by hook or by crook, even if it is immoral. And we know from Mr. Hartiste's Twitter account that he doesn't believe in morality when it comes to sexual matters. He put this out on the 23rd of November last year, 2025. A lie to bed a woman does her little harm. After all, he says, what exactly has changed? What actual harm has been done to her? If the next morning she finds out he works at Taco Bell instead of Goldman Sachs, the sex will still have felt as good because a found lie cannot undo the past. Mr. Hartiste is fine with somebody using sexual fraud. There's nothing wrong in his worldview with somebody playing quote-unquote asshole game like Harvey Weinstein or any of these other guys that got Me Too'd and had their lives wrecked. So we're back to the point of how all of society, including tons and tons and tons of women, have decided to collectively destroy people on the basis of them being jerks, one way or another. And of course, there was also problems of sexual assault and stuff like that, but a lot of it was just around generally abusive behavior in schools, in media, in workplaces, absolutely everywhere. And I think that functions as quite a bit of evidence that no, by and large, women don't like jerks, even if some of them find that to be attractive because they, like men, have a sinful nature and would rejoice in things like cruelty or harm. But this leads us to the better question. Should you, single man listening to this, be a jerk? Should you listen to the dating sites of the pickup guys, the red pill community, quote unquote, saying that you should pick up your asshole game? I'm going to answer a categorical no. Fornication already has a ton of horrible consequences to it. After 10 plus years in ministry now, I can vouch for the fact that my goodness, has fornication destroyed people. It wrecks lives. And even if somebody, quote unquote, gets away with it without broken hearts, without complications to their lives, they still have that stain and guilt on them forever. For the rest of their earthly life, it's there. It's bad. The sexual revolution had some horrible consequences. Don't we know it? But then to add to that, to consciously add to the risks of a fornicator's lifestyle with the extra risks of bitter women, their bitter friends, their bitter families, all being offended and angry at you and wanting to exact some sort of payment down the line, that being a very large and very likely risk of the guy who decides, I'm going to become a jerk, that's beyond just sinful. At that point, that's stupid. Brazenly stupid, I might add. And even if you find yourself the type of woman who digs jerks and then spreads her legs for you, not only are you sinning by having sexual congress out of wedlock, in addition to this, what is that woman going to think of you down the line? Sure, maybe she had some fun having sex with the jerk, but later on, when she begins to ruminate on the ways you actually treated her, when she starts thinking with her brain instead of her sexual organs, you're looking at that woman deciding, oh, this man mistreated me, took me a while to think about it, now it's time for him to be punished. Even if you have the visage of success here in this world, that's not going to pan out for you in the long term. It's foolishness. But at the same time, we have to ask the question, does this mean that young men should go for the opposite idea, the boomer romance image of the nice guy who buys flowers and is always incredibly thoughtful, etc., and so forth? The classical simp. My answer to that is no. I do believe it is good for a man to quote unquote simp for his wife in terms of paying her compliments, being a guy that opens doors for her and things like that. But do not pedestalize your wife as somebody that is categorically above you. Do not treat her like she is a common hooker and you are propositioning her. A lot of the quote unquote romantic gestures that we hear about today, like bringing the bouquet of roses, in the Renaissance, that was a thing you did for a hooker, for a prostitute. And we should not countenance that sort of behavior. You do those nice things or those romantic gestures for a woman that you are already in a covenant of marriage with, and that should be a special thing that you do, not an everyday thing. You are not her slave, you are her husband. Don't take crap. Don't be the kind of man that does nothing but take crap. Have some dignity. And at the same time, if your wife is the kind of girl that does have some primal attraction to a man being a little bit of a jerk, don't be afraid to accommodate that in a kind, loving, and gentle way. Some playful teasing, some playful ribbing. A lot of women like it if their husband, when he walks by, gives her a pat on the butt or something like that that shows, hey, I'm in charge around here. I'm the king lion in this pack, darn it, and I'm going to let you know that. Yeah, she likes that sort of thing, sure. But to be the kind of person like Mr. Hartiste is, justifying sexual fraud, rape by lies, I guess that's what the feminists would call it, ultimately taking that life path is just as bad, if not worse, than being the woman worshiping, super pedestalizing simp. The simp might be lonely. He might be in an unhappy marriage for all we know. But the simp isn't going to be nearly as miserable in life as the jerk is going to end up being, even if he's successful. There's going to be real consequences. Big example of that, Mr. Donald Trump, President of the United States of America. He got Me Too'd. He maybe got away with it, people would say, but it spoiled a lot of his campaign. It spoiled a lot of his presidency. He was embroiled in these lawsuits that kept him from doing things that were good for Americans. Him having quote unquote asshole game hurt the average American, who was not able to make ends meet as well as previously because this man wasn't able to do his stinking job, always being embroiled in some lawsuit with some bitter woman who hated that he was a jerk to her. Now, A lot of guys are going to say a woman's revealed preferences are different than her stated preferences and stuff, and a man does have to navigate that, especially if she's giving him le poopy test, or the fitness test, the shit test as it's often called. We're going to talk about that next week in ways to deal with that I believe are going to be helpful and productive for your life, my friend. But that'll be next week. Until then, our Lord bless you and keep you. Amen and amen.